Welcome back, Life Sciences. Hope you got those muscles going, got the energy flowing and the oxygen going through the body to make our mind nice and clear. All right, what are we doing? We're having a recap session today. We're just going through all the important parts that we need to make sure we understand when we're looking at this concept of the gaseous exchange system. Previously, we just looked at the most important thing we need to think of: how is each gaseous exchange system, right? How is it structured that makes it very, very efficient? And we just looked at how leaves and how earthworms and how, all right, and how insects, and now we're going to look at our whole concept of what is our gaseous exchange system. But how is it efficient? How is it built? I often say to my kids, think like an engineer. How would you build it so that it would work really, really well? Okay, so now we're going to concentrate on our system, our human, the structure of our one. So let's just quickly recap what made up, right, our respiratory system or gaseous exchange system. So first of all, each time when we're looking at it, right, guys, we need to make sure that we link this concept, structure versus function. How is the structure of the system that we're looking at, how is it made in such a way that it works so well? Now, if we have a look at the human gaseous exchange system, what did we look at? We looked at, right, that air must come through the nose. And the reason was that it had little hairs to trap the mucus. We said there was a lot of blood to warm the air, and also the mucus to trap any kind of foreign particle. Guys, it's very simple. This whole concept, it must be hollow. You don't want anything in these tubes. So when we breathe the air in, all right, it's going to go down this tube called the trachea, and the trachea is lined with C-shaped cartilaginous rings. Now, why it has to be that? It's reinforced. You don't want it to close. That's the whole concept that we looked at. If our trachea or our bronchi close, that's asthma, right, or bronchitis when it's get blocked, and it's not being able to breathe is exceptionally uncomfortable. Now the trachea then divided into two long tubes, and those tubes were called bronchi. And as we said, it has to divide into the two because our body has two lungs. Now this tube is a larger tube, and we need to make the passageway smaller and smaller and smaller to get the air to where we're going. These small tubes are called bronchioli. They're very, very thin tubes, and imagine it's a passageway for the air. At the end of the tubes are these hollow balloon-like structures. That is where the gaseous exchange is going to occur. The air is going to move in there, and they are going to inflate. And as I said, those are called alveoli. We have got two lungs, right, a left and a right, and we also find a very thin layer called the pleural layer. Just make sure the little bit of fluid to make sure when we breathe in and out, it's fine. And because it's quite an important section, we need to have a well-protected section, and that's where our ribs and our intercostal muscles are going. So each time you will see, all right, we tick the boxes, each and every one of those, all right, sections of how a gaseous exchange system needs to be, all right, made, if I had to say that. Guys, please remember, you must be able to label this section as well as, all right, be able to describe how it is well, all right, efficient. Okay, let's have a look at a few of the types of questions that we could have when we're looking at this section. I've started off with a multiple choice question, and the question is, which of the following are represented by A, D, and G? Right, so if we go and have a look at them, A is going to be my larynx, All right, so we've got time, so we can label each one, then we can do it. Number D, all right, is going to be a lung, and number G is going to be an alveoli. Right, now we are going to look and see which of those, all right, is going to match. So I've got a larynx, a trachea, and a diaphragm. No, it's not number A. Number B, I've got intercostal muscles. No, bronchus. No, I've only got larynx, one right there. Okay, so I've got a larynx. Yes, I've got a lung, and I've got an alveoli. So my answer is C, but I always go and check D just in case I've made a mistake. D is a bronchiole. No. Right, yes, I've got lung, alveolus, but the bronchi makes it incorrect. Okay. On the same, all right, diagram, it asks which one of the following is a function of structure number H. Now, if we have a look at structure number H, that is going to be my diaphragm. It's one thing I can never spell, right? I never know how to spell diaphragm. Right, now we've got to look quite carefully here because it's got to do with breathing. So, during inhalation, it contracts. Yes, that's correct. And during exhalation, it relaxes. So, I've got to number A, and I've already seen that it's correct. But what do? Right, I always go and just double check my answers to make sure that I've got it right. So, I'm circling A, but I just want to double check. Maybe I've got it wrong. During inhalation, it relaxes. And we know that it's the opposite way around. During inhalation, it is arched, yes. And during exhalation, it relaxes. What do we mean by arched? It's more dome shaped. So we're not going to use arched, all right? What do we want to say? It's not arched, all right? I've got to do that. It is flat. So there we go, neither of those. Right, during inhalation, it contracts, and yes, that's correct, and during exhalation, it flattens. No, it arches. So I go back to my A, right, yes, that's correct, and I'm going to tick it. Okay, here I'm given a diagram of a whole lot of branches. So it says, study the diagram showing parts of the human gaseous exchange. So it does tell me that I'm looking at something in the human gaseous exchange system. Okay, the first one, label structures A, B, and C. And again, it's leading, all right, to the structure of it. A is my trachea. B are my bronchi or my bronchus. Either way is fine. And C are bronchioles. So basically what it is showing you, all right, the largest tube to the thinnest tube. Now it says here, study, so that was just a simple, right, explanation. Now we're going to have a look at a little bit more of a, all right, I won't say challenging question, but we're looking at a different type. It says, study the diagram showing parts of the human gaseous exchange system. Again, all right, it tells you what we're looking at, and answer the questions that follow. Now, the first question we have to ask is, identify part A. Now, part A over here, if we have a look, is the tube bringing the air into the alveoli. So, guys, part A is going to be the bronchioli. They are the thin tubes, all right, that lead. These are usually called the infundibulum. So number A is going to be the bronchioli. Right, identify the processes 1 and 2. Now what happens is it's one process and the arrows are going in different directions. Generally, we would have said that, let me go back again quickly. All right, there we go. Okay, so generally number 1 would have been oxygen and number 2 would have been carbon dioxide. And what are we doing? They're exchanging. And what are they exchanging? They're exchanging gases. So the process, right, is going to be gaseous exchange. Both of them are moving from a high to a low concentration. The last question is, list 2 features visible in the diagram which make the structure alongside an efficient gaseous exchange. Now guys, they've only asked for 2, but I think we might be able to see that there are quite a few more. But let's just have a look. The first one I would go at, if we have a look at the structure, right, I'm going to say that number 1, it's only 1 layer thin, right, thin surface area that I can see. I can also see over here that it has a capillary. So number 2, it would have a transport system. And if you have a look at, and there would be a transport system over here, and I actually think that is going to be the last 2 because I can't see any layer of moisture and I can't see the rest of it. So there is only 2 over here.